Being in a relationship isn't all Mai Tais and Yahtzee. You and I both know there are challenges. And it's even more challenging if toxic communication has entered into the relationship. We're going to chat about shocking communication habits that can kind of sneak into your everyday conversation and, as a result, harm your relationship. I'm going to discuss 4 communication habits, and you should be aware that 93% of these habits can lead to divorce. Or not lead to divorce, I should say, predict divorce. So this is pretty important to be aware of them. It's time to break free of toxic talk and reclaim your emotional well-being and your partner's emotional well-being. Hi, I'm Ann. Y'all ready to chat? These 4 toxic communication traits are known as the 4 horsemen. I mentioned partners in divorce, but these toxic communication habits can seep into other areas of your relationships. For instance, your boss, other family members, work associates. So we're going to talk about it in relation to partners, but you need to be aware toxic communication can be just about anywhere, and it can lead to failed relationships of any kind. So let's get to it. Number 1, criticism. Criticism can be a full-on assault. It's an attack, and it usually happens when people are in conflict. It's when you attack your partner's character and personality instead of their behavior. Your complaint may start off feeling frustrated because your partner won't help you with the kids at bedtime, but you don't communicate that. Instead, you say, "You are so lazy, you never help me with the kids." You've just criticized, you've just attacked. This is probably going to escalate into a full-fledged argument. Instead of approaching it that way, you might have said, "Gee, I know you worked hard today, but could you give me a help with the kids? They're really a handful tonight." A criticism might be when you're painting a room, saying, "You paint like a 2-year-old. Let me do it instead." That's going to erupt in a fight. Instead, you might want to say, "I know an easier way to do that. Let me show you." You're helping them. You're not criticizing them. And that can diffuse a situation that may have escalated out of control. Criticism doesn't mean your relationship is going to end, but it does lay the groundwork for the next one. Number 2, contempt. Contempt is passive-aggressive behavior that shows blatant contempt and disrespect for your partner. It assumes moral superiority over your partner and includes name-calling, sarcasm, eye-rolling, mockery, and ridicule. You ever do any of those things? That's contempt. Anyone on the receiving end feels worthless and despised when they're treated in this manner. And it's one of the biggest predictors of divorce. When you feel yourself about to communicate in this manner, stop. Think about what you're about to say and how you're about to make the other person feel. And I don't just mean for your partner. I mean when you do this to other people as well. It's a great way to lose a partner. It's a great way to lose a friendship. I mean, you could say something like, your partner says, "How do I look today?" "Yeah, you're looking great." That's not really nice. It's very contemptuous. Or, "Gee, many Christmas, can you be any lazier when it comes to getting ready?" These are showing contempt for someone, and you love this person and you're showing contempt for them. Backtrack. Think about what you're going to say. So when somebody asks you, how do I look today? You look great. You look fine. Let me fix that your shirt a little bit. You look great now. Whatever you need to do, turn it into something positive. Maybe they don't look good. And if they don't, and they're used to your honest opinion, then quietly and respectfully give it to them. But don't be sarcastic with them. Don't roll your eyes. That's contemptuous. Number 3, defensiveness. This is usually the result if somebody criticizes you and you're in the wrong. Now, I'm not talking about if somebody attacks and you've done nothing wrong. I'm talking about, yes, you didn't help with the kids, or yes, you didn't put the dishes away. Instead of getting defensive and, well, I'm busy myself. You can do this too. That's defensive. Own it. I should have done the dishes. I'll make it a point to do them in the future. You don't have to get defensive about it. If somebody says something to you or asks you to do something, they may not be criticizing. They may just be asking you a question. Don't get defensive and say, well, I can't do that. You'll have to do it yourself. I can do this, but not right now. I'll do it later today or tomorrow. Would that be okay? Once more, this is when you're in the wrong, not when they're in the wrong. If it's a horrible criticism, we're going to deal with that later. Before I get to number 4, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe if you can. It's a great way to build a community and it really helps me out. So, thank you. Number 4, stonewalling. This one is my least favorite. I mean, I don't have any favorites, but this is the worst one there is. It is a big predictor of divorce, and it really harms your partner. This is when you feel emotionally overwhelmed and withdraw from the conversation. You shut down and you withdraw from your partner. You go silent on them. You need to recognize when you're emotionally overwhelmed so you don't stonewall. Stonewalling is another form of gaslighting. There's nothing wrong with me, it's all you. And instead of owning what you're saying or putting yourself into the conversation, you're withdrawing emotionally and you're making the other person feel like what they say doesn't matter. It avoids difficult conversations. And I mean avoids, in a bad way. It's not like just walking away to get cooled down. It is standing there, shutting down, ignoring what they're saying, and pretty much turning it around that you're not the problem, they're the problem, because you don't want to face what they're saying. It's often the result of a poor self-esteem or dissatisfaction in the relationship. So what do you do if you're overwhelmed by a conversation? You're just emotionally can't think, overwhelmed. Don't stonewall. Instead, say, I want to have this discussion with you, but I need a moment to gather my thoughts, or I need a moment to go to the bathroom, or whatever you can say to get away. But make it a point to say, I understand what you're talking about and I want to have this discussion with you. Just give me a minute. Then go get your act together. Go calm down. If it be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but go back and have that conversation. Don't turn it around on them that it's their fault, that they're the ones who are difficult or crazy or whatever it is. Take part in the discussion, share with each other what your point of view is, and resolve the conflict. And if you can't resolve the conflict that day, maybe you both need to take a break and resolve it another day. Or even more important, if it's really a big conflict, bring in a third party like a therapist. but don't stonewall. Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, stonewalling. These are all toxic ways to communicate. Be careful that it doesn't slip into your language and that it doesn't slip into your partner's language either. I'm going to be doing a series of each individual toxic communication habit and how you can dispel it when it happens to you, so keep an eye out for those. What type of toxic communication have you seen or been the victim of? I'd love to hear it in the comments below. So, until next time, thanks for the chat.